What's happening, everybody? Jason and Brandy back for another episode of the podcast. And I'll be honest, I have no clue what episode we're up to. Because the last
I'm not in charge of
episode,
that, so that's
the
all you,
last
man.
episode you weren't on it. It was me and a guest, which I haven't even published yet. That's shame on me. So this might be 166, 7, or 8, one of those three. So that's my best guess, give or take 3 on either side.
It's good. We're racking them up. It's one more than it was last time we talked. Actually, it's two more. So last time we talked plus 1 plus this one. We're going to let this go now. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. I'm going to throw this out there for now in the future. If anybody listening knows of an entrepreneur they might consider intentional, I might like to talk to them to see if they want to be featured in my magazine, also called Intentional. It's a quarterly digital magazine. We just want to put other entrepreneurs out there and kind of highlight what they're doing. And we have an episode or an edition we're supposed to be working on now, and I'm kind of falling behind on that, but could really use some help with some entrepreneurs. Even Brandy, I think you have some recommendations. So
I know.
if anybody listening and knows anybody, just go to the website intentionallyinspirational.com, find a way to contact me and let me know. That'd be awesome. There's some things that are under repair. There's some projects going on, so it is what it is.
You are like one of the busiest people I know. Like, how many irons can you have in the fire at one time?
It's crazy. Here's what's funny. So what is it? April of 2019 now. A year ago, I was like, man, if only I was this busy, my life would be great. But once you get that busy, it's like, wow, I have these new things to deal with I never thought about before. So it's got its challenges, but there's definitely the rewards too. So what do you want to talk about today?
Well, a little birdie told me that you had something that you wanted to share. So let's go for it. What is, and to our listeners, I really don't have a clue. And I have mentioned before, when he does this to me, it makes me extremely nervous because I just don't know what he's going to say. So we're all waiting with bated breath. Jason Wright.
This might be too far. Like, you may walk away from the camera and the mic right now. I'm in that mood today to just push boundaries and see what happens. You ready? Before I tell you that, I have something else to tell you.
Wait.
What are you getting?
I've got my Cyberman and my Dalek.
Oh, so I thought you picked up a pack of cigarettes. I was like, what's happening here?
If I don't like what you say, I'm going to attack you with my Cyberman and my Dalek.
And so for people right who can't see and only listening, you need to see the video there. So anyway, before I tell you what I was going to tell you, I'm super scattered today too. I am down almost 24 pounds now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Feeling fantastic. And when my wife's right there with me and we go places now, people are like, oh my God, what are you guys doing? You guys look like you've lost weight. Are you guys sick? Yeah, we're both sick at the same time. Yep, you got us.
I have used the sick diet. It really does work, though.
It does.
It's
you want to shed that quick 5 or 10. Yeah, so we're like 8 weeks in, chugging along, but life's good,
and
man.
You're still enjoying it? Like, you still are satisfied with what you're eating?
Yeah, because I get to eat tons of greasy meat and cheese and sour cream and stuff that I really enjoy. And we can have sweet stuff, it doesn't have sugar, but it tastes exactly like sugar. I mean, the technology, or maybe it's not technology, with sweeteners is unbelievable. But we've got anything you want to make, we can make. We made ice cream about 3 weeks ago, like just enough for a big bowl, and there's still leftovers. Like, my sweet tooth has just really gone away. It doesn't taste as good.
Isn't that funny how that works?
Really weird.
So my son and I are allergic to yeast.
Okay.
So that pretty much leaves out pizza, right? Well, with a teenage son, you can't leave out pizza. So there's yeast in the crust, obviously, and yeast in cheese. So what we do is we get a thin crust pizza with no cheese and whatever, usually a lot of meat on the top. So I actually like Domino's. Domino's used to be terrible, but Domino's is good
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I ordered this pizza the other day, and then when I picked it up, I was like, I forgot to order no cheese. So I got this pizza and it had cheese on it. I thought, you know what? It'll be fine, whatever. I didn't like it. Like, it's been so long since I had pizza with cheese on it. It tasted terrible to me. So I totally get what you're saying. Like, after you go without it for so long, your body just doesn't even want that anymore. It just doesn't appeal to you.
Yeah, the way that I'm losing weight is like at some point I'm going to have to change my diet because otherwise I'll just die. But it's like there's certain things that I won't go back to. Like one of them's bread. Like when I ate bread or
Mhm.
stuff like that, it's just I was just so bloated and uncomfortable all the time. I didn't realize it wasn't normal, but like I'm not going back to that. So anyway, I guess we
Mhm.
better give the listeners what they're here to listen to. So here's the topic I wanted to talk about today.
Oh
And
Lord.
it's something we're talking about a little bit before the show. This is definitely not a G-rated episode. This is like mature 30 and older. Just kidding. I wanted to talk about the art of the scale. So whether you're an entrepreneur or you're working in a company that's trying to grow, kind of that challenge and that balance, how do you scale a company effectively to not only meet the growth that you have, but get ready for future growth without spending too much and getting in trouble? It's kind of interesting because I think that's why a lot of people don't get bigger than one person. What do you think about that?
I agree with you. It's a tough one. You have staff to do the work, so it's operationally excellent, as we've talked about before. Because if you're not doing a good job, nobody wants to be your customer. Um, but you have to have money coming in to pay your staff, so it is kind of a pickle.
So I want to share this story. I talked to this guy. I want to say the beginning of this year, or the end of last year. It's cold, so somewhere front or back of winter. And we were talking about building a funnel or something. And then he said, "Hey, I have an agency as well." I'm like, "Oh, great! A lot of people have agencies these days because you can do them online. There's a million different types out there." And we got to talking, and we just kind of connected on a personal level. But this guy had built up a great business and said he had done about 330,000 in revenue. And I'm like, wow, that's fantastic. And I said, I assume you have a team helping you out. He said, it was me and one other guy. And I was like, do you work a lot of hours? And he was like, oh God, like 90 hours a week. And I was like, oh, I said, realistically, how long do you think you can keep that up, that pace? And he was just like, I don't know. Like, what choice do I have? And I was like, unbelievable. People just don't, they can't wrap their mind around out of relinquishing control. And the thing that I'm finding on this journey is like I'm not really good at very much stuff. Like I can tell you right now, managing our workflow and being hyper organized with stuff, it's not me. It's not my strength. I don't like to do it. I don't have time to do it. So the moment I can give that to somebody who's good at that, that is the yin to my yang, it's gonna be improved. Like it took me a long time. It took me about a year to realize like I'm not good at most of these things I'm doing, and I'm making no money from where I'm spending my time. But it's just interesting because it doesn't matter what industry you're in or what you're doing. I can't make sense out of working or doing something and just hitting a level and saying I want to stay here until I die. Like, isn't the point to like grow? You know what I mean?
I think that way, and you think that way, and I know a lot of people that think that way, but not everybody thinks that way. I mean, just
I
to follow
can't
up
get
with
my
that,
mind. I can't get my
like,
mind in that place even to pretend. It's like, okay, if we're either growing or dying, we're always in a state of perpetual motion.
so I think some people just don't think that way in general. And it's funny that you brought this topic up because I I have a friend and she has recently taken over as operations manager for an office. And
Congratulations, friend.
not me.
Oh,
I don't
maybe she's
I don't
listening.
I hope that next week that I get to take over something, but not today.
She's like, I don't
Um,
care if it's a small country. I'm taking something over.
taking something over next week. Um, but so her staff, it's a law office, and there are certain activities that you have to do to bring the money in. Like revenue only comes from basically one place. You close
Yep.
these cases and you get money. That's all there is to it. But some people just don't think that way. They just don't think about, okay, so I need to bring in money so that I can get paid. They just think more like a corporate employee would, where I just show up and I get my paycheck and I go home. So, for example, my dad was an engineer for the railroad. He had, I mean, other than making sure his train got to where it was supposed to be and he didn't, run into anything and or derail,
Hmm.
he really had no impact on the bottom line at all. So, he went to do his job, he did a good job with what he did, and he came home. But that's the mindset that some people have in a small business, and you just simply can't. So whether you're looking to scale and you want to hire somebody, or you're looking at your own team, you have to look and make them understand that every action that they do impacts the bottom line. And if they don't do it, and if you don't do it right, somebody's going to lose their job, and it's not usually the boss.
Yeah. So you get,
Especially in your if a 20 to 15 employee business or
yeah,
under,
yeah,
the boss isn't losing his job.
yep.
So you got to make sure that you understand where the money's coming from, and everything that you can do, whether you talk to the clients or not, your job has an impact on the client. How can you make that client want to come back and spend more money?
Yeah, that's so true. That relationship piece, not only getting somebody's trust, but maintaining it, and even getting them to extend you grace sometimes, and maybe they shouldn't. That's where it's at. That's where the beauty happens and the magic happens. A few weeks ago, Tiffany on my team, who's been with me the longest,
Yay, Tiffany!
she was off. She had a baby. Congratulations.
Yay, Tiffany, you got a
And
baby!
and she did quite a bit in advance to make sure that the impact wasn't felt, automating a bunch of stuff when she was gone. There were some things that I told her, hey, I got this. And as the week unfolded, I thought, I'm not doing that
No,
because
you didn't.
that thing doesn't make me money and I can't ignore this stuff that does. So
Mhm.
where I used to literally almost, get sick to my stomach with stress, how do I do it all? It's easy now. What pays me the most? That's what's getting my attention first because my mindset shifted. But anyway, without going on that tangent, I think the toughest spot for me has been, and I think people are gonna relate to this, is when do I try to bring that person on? Because you can start to make some okay money and pay your bills, and you're like, okay, I'm doing this thing, pay your taxes and all that. And then it's like, oh man, I don't want to take away the profit I just got and give to somebody else. So many people I know that have businesses, and if they watch this, they know who they are, have been in that same boat for 4 years. And maybe you make a little bit more than you did 4 years ago, but you're not really doing anything differently. So why do you keep talking about this different outcome that's not going to happen? You know, it's like there has to be almost a blind leap of faith, and it's not a one-time adventure. The blind leap of faith happens all the time in entrepreneurship, but the more you do something, you, the more calculated you become. You know what I mean?
So give me, in your humble opinion, give me three things that an entrepreneur should look for to know when it's time to make that jump.
Oh, that's great, man. This is good. We're getting good. We're getting good here. We're just going off the cuff and just feeding off each other. Blah blah blah. Good stuff.
Well, when you don't tell me what we're talking about beforehand, off the cuff is all I've got.
Yeah, and I think this episode, I hope a lot of people can hear it because this episode is such a pain point for people. So you said give you three indicators that it's time to
Mhm.
scale. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. Indicator one is if you're primarily doing the service, and in my mind, everything goes to digital or online. Doesn't have to be, but when you find that your time is absolutely tapped out, and it starts to impact your quality of life, it's time to look at that number two. Okay. I don't care how cool you think you are or how tough you think you are. If you're working 60 or 70 hours every week, holidays, weekends, all night long, sneaking out of birthday parties of your kids to, it's time. Like that's a sign. And it's never gonna be completely comfortable because, like I said, when you start making more money than you need, in your mind is like, whoa, I just got this. I'm not ready to give it up. You're not giving it up. You're investing a little bit to get a whole lot more out of it. So it takes a little bit of a leap of faith. And so that's sign one. When you're tapped out, you got to look outside. Otherwise, that's going to be your reality. You're going to just be tapped out until you die. Number two, I would say, is when you can have an honest conversation with yourself and say, hey, I'm not the most organized person in the world, or hey, I suck at creating content, or hey, I don't follow up with customers, whatever the case may be. When you recognize you're not A plus in all parts of your business and it's your fault, that's fine. There's no person out there that's good at everything. There's people that think they're good at everything, and guess what? They're usually terrible at most. Seriously, except for Brandy and her little figurines in the background. So, are those porcelain, by the way, or no?
They're Lego, man.
Oh,
Lego.
is that one on the right? African elephant tusk.
It's a Dalek and a Cyberman.
See, for the
Do you
people who
not
can't,
know what those
for the
are?
people who can't see, I just put Brandy in an awkward situation. He's like, oh my God, they're going to think I'm in the ivory trade and they can't see it. It's a Lego.
It's a Dalek and a Cyberman.
What's
Here,
that?
I'll help you out.
She
My
has
daughter,
toys everywhere.
my daughter made me this little TARDIS to go with my Dalek and my
You're
Cyberman.
using a lot of words that I do not recognize. I don't know what a TARDIS. It looks like a building.
You don't know what a TARDIS is? I hope we get a
I've
lot of
never
people to
heard.
write into
I've
you.
never heard that word, and I don't know the other words you were saying.
It's Doctor Who. It's the TV show Doctor Who.
Never heard of it. Sorry.
Oh, bless you. The Lord keep you, shine upon
So
you and be gracious unto you.
yeah, Brandy's in rare form still. 3 weeks now. Keep going. So that's two things. And then the third sign it's time to scale is if you, it only takes one. If you have a potential opportunity out there, the thought of it scares you because you're like, oh my God, how am I going to deliver? For God's sake, be proactive. Biggest mistake I saw in HR in the corporate world, all companies want to be reactive to hiring. Be proactive, because how do you know something's going to work out? I'm working with a brand new team member now. She's been with me a week. First week's great. It's 1 week. You know, what's it going to be like in 30 days or 90 days or 6 months? Because all those milestones, people change. They relax. You figure out, do we work together or not? So why would you wait until after the need is already here? Okay?
So let me push on that one for just a minute. So recap those for me. Number one was
When your personal quality of life suffers because you're working too much.
number two.
When you realize that you are not great at everything and you need to get strong people around you who are strong where you are weak. And number
And number
three
three.
was preparing for an opportunity not yet landed.
Okay. So those were very good, by the way. You did
No,
very
thanks.
well for not planning that.
I'm just speaking from my experience, my friend.
So let me ask about that, because your business is contract based, right?
Yeah.
So you get a contract and but you don't know where the next one's coming from, right? Like your contracts are probably some length of time, maybe a year or whatever.
Anywhere from, it depends, but there's various lengths of times. Yeah.
Okay. So you bring this person on, and then because you had one contract and it went really well. But then what do you do with the person if the contract dries up?
Yeah, so my business is unique because I should have been more clear. A piece of our income is contract based. So the agency, what I call it, where we do our monthly recurring work, that's a piece. That's one of 6 income streams. So we've got some affiliate income streams. Me, I'm a beast with projects. I get a ton of projects a month. I've supported the business with just projects in a month. So it's not built just on one contract. It's built on trying to grow all revenue streams, and as they grow, bring people on. So it's a little bit more steady than that. There's been tough times, but it's a little unique in that regard.
So I guess one thing I hear in there is maybe a 3B or a 4. Analyze your revenue stream,
Yep.
like, because you don't want to bring someone on and they could be your rock star, and then you don't have the next contract for them. So hopefully they were just contract based and they've got other opportunities or whatever.
Yep.
But you don't want to risk losing that rock star that you just brought on and trained and put all your energy and time and effort into making them a member of your team, and then you have to let them go. So I think that one's pretty good too, is analyze your revenue stream. Make sure that you can, even if you're the dude working 70 hours a week, you got to be able to pay yourself and your people. So it is that tough boundary, but I think those were all really good. I think that's pretty clear.
And one thing I'll touch on very, very lightly, because it's a whole nother series of shows, but if you only have one revenue stream, you're missing opportunities. Every single entrepreneur should have 4 or 5 revenue streams. I mean, there's 3 more right now that I'm staring at that should be active, but they're not.
It is good
If
advice.
you have skills, there's a ton of ways to monetize it in today's world. And it's crazy if you don't, for the reasons you just said. How many of us know somebody, everybody listening is going to know somebody who lost their job because a government contract that employed 20 full-time people went away. Stuff happens. It happens every day, you know. And I won't go any further down this hole, but if you have one contract that fuels your entire business, you got a problem. I know a bunch of people like that. You got a problem. You better go find 15 more, so if it goes away, you're at least, you know, that one's replaced. So having too big of a contract is no different than being an employee, honestly. You have no control. So
that's a good analogy.
Yeah. So I hope this stuff's helpful. Hope somebody listening resonates with this and it challenges them a little bit, because, man, there's about nothing scarier for people than relinquishing control and kind of taking that step that we're talking about here. And you either take the step and scale, or you stay where you are forever, you know, or you burn out and go back to corporate if that's what you want to do. But you can't avoid it.
So if you're listening, send us an email, tell us that you're ready to scale, and we will talk about you and how awesome you're doing on the air. Like, you'll be famous because we'll share. If you want to share that you're ready to scale and you're ready to rock it out, we want to talk about you. Send us an email.
Well, hell, if somebody does that, we can bring them on. Bring on and put a third. That'd be awesome.
Even better.
Be
I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, you can email us at inspire@greyfoxbusiness.com. That's GREY foxbusiness.com. And that would be awesome. Cool.
Well done.
You got anything else to talk about or add?
I think that's enough for one day. We did a good job.
I think so. All right, everybody. Jason Wright, thanking you for your time and attention. And as always, if you want to subscribe to the podcast, go to intentionallyinspirational.com/podcast, and you can do so there. And Brandy is holding up these Legos, or porcelain/ivory figurines.
Cybermen, Dalek, exterminate. You don't know what that means.
I have no idea what these words are.
They will know who Doctor Who is, and they will say, exterminate. See y'all later.
I'm out. See ya.